Hi, my name is Pat, and this is my channel, Book Chat with Pat, and I'm glad that you're here. Today I'm going to be talking about my favorite reads in fiction for the year 2025. I've selected 10 books that I completed this year that I think are my top 10. But in addition, I'm going to talk about three honorable mentions because while they aren't exactly favorite reads, they are books that made a powerful impression and that I am continuing to think about. The first one is a book that I read with my real life in person book group, and that is Florence Knapp's novel, The Names. I've talked about this novel several times recently on the channel. This book provoked perhaps the most intense discussion in my book group. This is a novel. It's a beautifully written novel, but it deals with domestic violence and the horrors that that can bring to a family. We had, as I said, a very powerful discussion about the novel. At times, this book filled me with a sense of dread, and everybody in my book group had kind of a similar experience of that. But it is also a book that I have not stopped thinking about since we moved on from it. My next honorable mention is a novel that I read with Angelia from the channel Read and Reread. We did a buddy read of Madeleine Thien's The Book of Records. And while I would say that neither one of us exactly loved this book, it is a book that has stayed with me and that has caused me to continue to think about it. This is a novel about a father and daughter who are forced to flee from their homeland for reasons that we don't entirely understand, and they end up living in this very strange and unusual place with other people who are also refugees, and our main character, Lena, befriends some of her neighbors, and through them, she encounters stories from several characters throughout history, people who, all people who have experienced some kind of political revolution in their lives. While I think we were both sort of troubled by this novel and had difficulty getting our bearings in it at times, it also sent me down kind of a rabbit hole to learn about Hannah Arendt, one of the characters that Lena and her father encounter in the novel. So I would say that this was an incredibly thought-provoking novel and one that led me in other directions that I did not expect. And then the third honorable mention is a book that I am continuing to revisit, and I probably will be revisiting this book for much of my life. I said when I read James Joyce's Ulysses for the third time about a year and a half ago that I thought I had read all of the James Joyce that I was going to read and that I probably would never read Finnegans Wake. And then this past year, with a group of wonderful booktubers, I did read Finnegans Wake. And this book took me places, again, that I never, ever would have expected. While I make no claims whatsoever of understanding this novel, or even I don't even think I have a small grasp on what's going on in this novel, but it took me into such a deep dive into modernism and into James Joyce. I read ancillary texts to this novel. I read Richard Ellman's biography of James Joyce because of this novel, and I've continued to dip into it, as I suspect I may be doing for for some time to come. This is a book that doesn't really give you answers. It gives you questions, and it has no beginning and it has no ending. I mean, it's sort of a portrait of the unconscious mind. And it was just such a powerful reading experience that while I can't call this one of my favorite reads because I don't think I understand really what's going on in here, I can't compare this to anything else that I've ever read or any other reading experience that I've had. And it also provided, in a weird way, a great distraction for me at, I think just a difficult time in the world right now, and I think that's why I'm going to keep coming back to it. So I didn't think I could make a best of video for the year without mentioning James Joyce's Finnegans Wake. Now for my top 10, my favorite reads, the books that I truly loved reading, that I've recommended to many other people, and books that I do continue to think about and perhaps will continue to revisit at other times in the future. Number 10 is Fredrik Backman's My Friends, and this was a novel also that I read with my book group, and it's a story of a group of friends. An adult character meets up with a young adult character, and then has cause to go back and reflect on his life and his relationship with the best friends that he ever had. And it's also a book about the transformative power of art. And we just, we had a wonderful discussion of it. We loved the book. And it was a surprise. It was one that I loved much more than I expected to. Number 9 is a novel that was just a real treat. I joined into a reading group of the novels of the science fiction writer Clifford D. Simak. This is a group that Sean D. Standfast started this past year. Sean D. Standfast knows more about Clifford D. Simak probably than anyone alive. And one of the novels that we read together early on was The Goblin Reservation. And this is a very old paperback edition. I have no idea what the cover means. In fact, when we had a live stream discussion of this novel, and everybody held up their different editions, and all the covers are just really, really different. And mine, I feel like this has almost nothing to do with what's going on in the book, but this is an old paperback copy. This is, let's see, this one came from, 1970. I think the book was first published in 1968. But just an absolutely wonderful science fiction novel. I don't think anybody, who has read Simak widely, I don't think anyone considers this one of his great novels, and yet our group had such a wonderful time with this novel. It was fun. There's just a delightful ensemble cast of characters characters and creatures that you kind of had to love, and I just think it's one I will revisit. I think this has become my favorite Clifford D. Simak novel. Now, I haven't read nearly nearly all of the Clifford D. Simak novels, but somehow something about this novel was just so enjoyable, and our reading experience was just really really fun, and I think it is one that I will revisit. So that's number 9. Number 8 is another book that my book group read together. We had a really good year, I think. And this is Marie-Helene Bertino's Beautyland. This comes in at number 8. This is, it's described as science fiction or speculative fiction, and that was a big part of our discussion, whether this was really a science fiction novel about a girl who is an alien who grows up believing that she is an alien and that she's been sent to Earth to investigate the human race, or whether it's really a realistic novel about a young person who just feels like she's an alien. And that was a big part of our discussion. But I thought it was just a really well-written, beautiful novel, and another one that we had a really, really interesting discussion about. Number 7 is a novel that I read as a buddy read with my friend Gareth from the channel Books, Songs, and Other Magic. And we read this together for... I think we read this for during, I guess it was during, I don't know if we read this for Horror Mayhem or, yeah, I guess it was during Horror Mayhem. And this is We Have Always Lived in the Castle by Shirley Jackson. I had read Shirley Jackson short stories before, but this was my first Shirley Jackson novel. I know this is on Gareth's top 10 list as well. We had just a really, really wonderful ongoing discussion about this novel about a very strange family. And this is just a great Penguin Classics edition. Get a real picture of the mob that is often a character in Shirley Jackson's work. So that is number 7. Number 6 was a novel that I read as a buddy read with Alan from Big Hard Books and Classics, and subscriber and commenter Patricia H. And this is John Steinbeck's The Winter of Our Discontent. I was reading a lot of John Steinbeck this summer for the Summer of Steinbeck, but this was one that I had never read before. I was rereading a lot of Steinbeck this summer with East of Eden and Grapes of Wrath, which made my top reread list. But this was my first read of this very powerful novel, John Steinbeck's last novel. And we had a great discussion about this. I believe that this is a novel that I will definitely revisit, along with some of the other Steinbecks that have now become just a part of my my reread library. Okay, coming in at number 5, Adrian Tchaikovsky's Children of Time. This is part 1 of what is right now a 3-part series, but I understand that part 4 is coming soon. I read this novel with my friend Lectin from the channel Reading from the Depths. And we had just a phenomenal discussion, ongoing discussion, both through email and in in-person, not in-person, WhatsApp chats. And this is a novel where half of the novel is told from the point of view of a spider society. Never in a million years would I have predicted that I would love a novel where spiders are main characters. And yet I absolutely loved this novel. I did go on and read part 2 for our Octopus reading event. I haven't yet read part 3, which I need to do before part 4 comes out. But this was my introduction to Adrian Tchaikovsky, and I just thought this was a brilliant novel, and I would recommend this to anybody, whether you're interested in science fiction or not. So that was my number 5. My number 4 is a very special book. This is a novel that was written by my friend and fellow booktuber, Joseph O'Malley of the channel Too Tight Lautrec. And this is his first novel. He also has published a collection of short stories, but this is his novel that came out in September, Starlight and Moonshine. This is just an absolutely brilliant novel. It is the story of a family coping with the death of their mother. She has died as the result of a drunk driving accident that she caused. And this is the story of her husband, her children, 2 daughters and a son, and her sister-in-law, and how they deal with the aftermath of her death. And it was just a really, really beautifully written novel, and just a really powerful story. I have done a separate review of this on the channel. I'll try to link that in the notes below. But it's just a beautiful family story and a really, really moving portrait of grief and how a family copes with that. Okay, my number 3 was my introduction to Anthony Trollope. This was also a buddy read. This is The Warden, and I did a buddy read of The Warden with my friend Jack at Spread Book Joy. And for both of us, this was our introduction to Anthony Trollope. This is our introduction to the Chronicles of Barchester, and it has set us on a journey. We are looking for the month when we're now going to read our 3rd book in this series. But for both Jack and I were saying, like, how is it that we've never read Anthony Trollope? How have we missed him? And this was, I think this book will always have a special place in my heart. It certainly deepened my friendship with Jack, but it also introduced us to the wonderful world of Anthony Trollope. And so this book will have a special place in my heart for a long time. I wanted to wait to the very end of December to do this video because I had a feeling that the book that I was reading for my next meeting with my in-person book group just might make my top 10 list, and I and I was right. In about a week and a half, my in-person book group is going to be meeting to discuss Rabih Alameddine's The True Story of Raja the Gullible and his mother. This novel just won the National Book Award, and this is our pick for December into January, and I just adored this book. The Pineiro Project had earlier in the year read Alameddine's earlier novel, The Angel of History, which also was a very powerful and moving novel about a man really having a nervous breakdown as he's coming to terms with the just catastrophic losses that he has suffered because of the AIDS epidemic. This book is a little bit different from that, but it is the story of a 60-something-year-old man, a teacher, and it really kind of tells his whole life story by the time we're finished with it, and also depicts his very powerful relationship with his mother, of the parentheses down here. This is a book that I can't wait to talk about with my book group. And the Pineiro Project is actually going to be reading this as well, because we had such a powerful experience with The Angel of History. We're going to be reading this and talking about it in, I think, in March of 2026. But this is coming in at my number 2 read for the year, the last book that I finished in 2025. And my number 1 is one of the first books that I read in 2025. And this is Claudia Pineiro's novel, Elena Knows. This was one of the 7 novels that we read this past year with the Pineiro Project. This was shortlisted. It was a Booker Prize listed book. It was written actually in, when was it written? I mean, it was translated, I think, it was written in 2007, but it wasn't translated to English until 2021. So, we're coming to this, kind of late to the party in a way. One of the most powerful novels I've ever read. It is the story of a mother who has a most debilitating disease, and she is facing, at the beginning of the novel, the death of her only child, her daughter. She's being told that her daughter committed suicide, and she doesn't believe it. She believes, in fact, she thinks she knows that her daughter never could have committed suicide. And in spite of her severe physical disabilities, she sets out to try to prove that her daughter's death was actually a murder and not a suicide. So it is a novel. It's sort of a mystery, sort of a murder mystery. It's definitely the portrait of a family. It's a story of a mother and daughter. And their relationship, and it was also just a most incredibly powerful read for all of us in the Pineiro Project, because it opened up. Just the most incredible conversation among all of the booktubers and subscribers and commenters who were who are in the Pineiro Project, one of the most powerful group reading experiences I've ever had. So that, I think, also contributes to why this is my number one work of fiction for 2025. So that's it. I think it was a pretty good reading year as I look back on all of these. I'm feeling really good about all of the things that I was able to read and talk about with subscribers, with commenters, with my in-person book group, with buddy readers, all over the world. I'm feeling really good about the BookTube experience and what this list of 10, really 13 books has has meant in my life. So I'd love to hear in the comments about your top reads for the year, or if any of mine would appear on your list. I'd love to know about that as well. And finally, I just want to say thank you to everyone who has been with me this year, who has followed the channel, offered your thoughts, your kind words in the comments. Please know how important you are to me and how grateful I am for your role in my life. So, as always, I thank you for watching. I hope that you're doing well. I'll speak with you again soon. Take care.